Alright guys, Darren from FBA Elite and welcome back to another video. So this box, I've been waiting for this box for the best part of a month and it is finally here. And anyone that has started an Amazon FBA business and launched their own private label product, they will tell you this is the most exciting part. This is when you start to get the product in hand and really know whether you're onto a winner or not. So inside this box, or what was inside this box before I emptied it, was 5 different samples. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But this process reminded me that I needed to make a video for you guys because so many people waste a lot of time and a lot of money at this particular step in the Amazon FBA process. So in this video, I'm going to give you 4 different tips and they are going to save you a lot of time. And the last one is going to save you a lot of money as well. So make sure you stick around for that. So tip number 1, when you are ordering samples, don't go run into Alibaba straight away. And as soon as you speak to a supplier, order their samples. That is going to cost you a fortune that you don't need to spend at that stage. A lot of people think that you have to get samples first from the suppliers. I don't recommend that. What I recommend doing instead is going to amazon.co.uk or whichever marketplace you're selling on and getting samples from your direct competition. This will allow you to get the products in hand so you can see what you're up against. It will also very quickly help highlight all the positives and negatives about those products. Now you can of course find out more about those by diving into the negative reviews, but actually getting the products in hand will speed up that process a lot. And also you'll spot things that a lot of people in the reviews won't spot either. So that is a lot cheaper because you haven't got to pay for importing them all the way from China. So instead of paying probably $100 to $150 per sample, you're only paying maybe 10, 20, 30 pounds to get the product from Amazon. Also, if you take care of it, you can also send it back. Now, morally, it depends how you sit on that particular situation, but you can order the samples from Amazon, test them, and then send them back. So that will save you a lot of money. And also, it saves you a lot of time. Rather than having to speak to a supplier and wait probably the best part of 2 weeks for a sample to be made and shipped to the UK, you're going to get it next day if you've got Prime. So that's the first tip that's going to save you time and money. The second tip, when you actually come to order some samples, if you're ordering multiple samples, just make sure one of them, doesn't matter from which supplier it is, just make sure one of them has your branding on it, either on the product itself or on the packaging. And the reason for this is that when you come to apply for brand registry and or create your first listing, sometimes Amazon will ask to provide a photo of a product with your brand on it. So if you've already got a sample, you can just take a photo of that and that will help with your application process for either brand registry or for creating your first listing. So that is tip number 2. Now this next tip, a lot of you guys are going to really struggle with, and I know I used to struggle with this in the early days, but if you do this, you will make better decisions. Just trust me on this. So when people order samples, they're normally ordering from at least 3 different suppliers. And invariably, they're going to turn up at different times. Now, what I would say is when that first sample comes and when that second sample comes, don't open them. Just put them to one side until you have all of the samples. If you open the first sample and you like it and you get excited, you're going to start making decisions thinking, right, I'm going to proceed with this first supplier. You know, balls to the other 2. I don't really care what happens with those. And that's not the right approach. You need to get all of those samples and compare them on a neutral basis. It doesn't matter who turned up first. You need to compare the quality of those samples. You need to compare the price of those samples and also compare which suppliers actually delivered the sample closest to your spec. Because it's not unrare, it's very, very common that the samples they send you won't be quite what you are expecting. So be patient, collate all of your samples and then do your testing together. Get a pen and paper and write down the results for every single sample, and then you'll be able to make an honest assessment as to which product is the best, and then you can negotiate from there with the relevant supplier. Now this final tip will save you money, and this is why I was waiting a month for this particular box. So I was ordering samples from 4 different suppliers, and the actual samples themselves were about $50 each, but shipping on each of those samples was anywhere from $50 to $70 per product. So that would have been anything from kind of $200 to $300 on top of the actual sample fees. So this time around, and for the first time ever, and that's why I wanted to make this video to kind of update you guys as I haven't spoken about this before, I used a sample collation and forwarding service. Now these are available on places like Fiverr.com. Just search for Amazon samples or sample consolidation services, and they will charge you a small fee and obviously the actual cost of the shipment as well to get it to the UK, but it'll work out a lot cheaper. So I think it was to collate, I had 5 samples from 4 different suppliers. It cost me about $120 on Fiverr. So that's the actual fee itself for the person doing it and for the import cost. Whereas if I would have done it directly with individual suppliers, I would have been paying between $200 to $300 in postage alone. So that is the final tip on that front. But it has reminded me there is one more thing that I need to give you guys as well. So when you are ordering samples from a supplier, don't feel like you only have to order one sample. Normally, if I'm ordering samples from a supplier, I could be ordering either multiple samples from the same supplier, but also asking them to include possible types of inserts and possible packaging as well. And also, depending on the samples, I might be asking them to include different types of materials, because you might have a core sample that is available in different dimensions, in different materials, in different thicknesses, in different weightings. So think about all of those things so that when you order your samples, you can order them all together. You don't want to be ordering multiple samples from the same supplier in different shipments. You want them all together. So don't just think you're ordering one product, you're ordering multiple variations of one product so you can develop the best possible product. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. If you did, make sure you scroll down and hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, subscribe to the channel. And if you're thinking about starting your own Amazon FBA business but don't know where to start, I'm going to pop up a step-by-step guide now which talks you through everything you need to do to make your first £1,000 per month on Amazon. And I'll see you guys over there.